Hey there, fans of the Survivor Super Fun Time Show. This is Kevin from the Survivor Super Fun Time Show. And today, we're going to be talking about episode 1 of Survivor 46. Obviously, this is a premiere episode. It was 2 hours of fun, 2 hours of Jelinsky, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot to talk about in this episode. I mean, we have a new journey game that we got to see play out, one that I've seen kind of before in the past, which is interesting. I probably wouldn't keep it, but we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. The introduction of a new, totally unhinged class of castaways that I think is going to be really interesting to see progress throughout the season. And, I mean, it really created a legend, some would say, particularly that person themselves, in who was booted out in the episode. But we'll go through all of these things in this little recap here. But just a heads up, if you want to be subscribed to the Super Fun Time Show, I would greatly appreciate that. Every subscribe, every thumbs up matters on these videos. So I appreciate it if you would be part of the community and see more videos in the future, whether that be compilations, recaps, castaway interviews, anything like that. But let's get into it. So the episode starts off, obviously, all the tribes end up meeting Jeff. You have the Yanu Tribe, you have Siga, you have Nami, you have all those, and Soda with her brilliant, fun puns. She right away was like, nah, me, I'm not getting voted out. Excellent personality from Soda. Did not expect it to be that big right away. Absolutely love it. Ben from the Siga tribe raises a hand, says he was spewing all over the boat, and I thought that was really funny. Ben is already showing his personality as a musician, all around kind of good, funny guy. And in the first challenge, it was super interesting to me is where they had to go get puzzle pieces, assemble them, and then knock a key off. For the most part, it's a pretty similar formula to what every season of the New Era has had, for the most part. But what I thought was interesting, they had to go in pairs, and from there, you can kind of see how they all worked out. I mean, the one who stood out right away in the pairing situation was the first heat. It was Hunter on the Nami Tribe. Hunter, this dude is a tank. Straight up, he's a tank. It looks like he is just a guy that just has good instincts and knows how to just do things when it comes to something physical. So right away, he ripped right through with his partner, Venus, and he said, Venus, stay back and make the hole bigger, because he knows his other teammates are going to need that. He can go grab one of these pieces, drag it back, and then Venus can go do the same, and he'll run back and help her. Excellent teamwork right off the bat for Nami, which honestly ends up becoming a theme for the Nami Tribe throughout the whole episode. And I thought that was very interesting because preseason, I said Nami had the best chance of being the loser tribe. That looks like it's going to be one of the other two, and Nami's actually going to be A-okay for a hot second or two. So we'll see how it shapes up. But Nami was looking pretty impressive to start with. I was also really impressed with particularly some of the ladies who ended up getting some of these puzzle pieces and carrying them on their own, just throwing it over their shoulders and bringing it back. The two in particular that I remember that stand out is Maria on the Siga tribe. She was a badass all episode. We'll talk more about her. And Tiffany, who also was a badass this episode of the Yanu tribe. My dad always told me he was a sprinkler fitter. He carried pipe on his shoulder. He said, listen, son, your shoulder can take a lot more weight than a lot of other parts in your body, so throw it on your shoulder. Now, to be fair, my father's shoulders both needed major reconstructive surgery, but he did carry a lot of pipe. And the ultimate winner ended up being the Nami Tribe coming in first. They got their machete, their pot, all that fun stuff. And then Siga Tribe came in second with Yanu, unfortunately having to take the sweat challenge in the sweat or savvy because Siga chose to do the savvy portion in order to get their supplies before the next immunity challenge. So they go back to their camps and they start their challenges. Right away on the Yanu Tribe, this young whippersnapper, this tall skyscraper guy named Jelinsky raises his hand and says, I for sure can do the sweat challenge where we're going to take buckets of water and we're going to run it to this giganto bucket or two and fill them up before the hourglasses run out, which is about 4 hours. He and Q, a guy who clearly has played sports his whole life, he's a big hustler, he doesn't seem to quit, they volunteer and they start moving along. Whereas the Siga tribe, they end up having to do some kind of like crossword, like seek and find type situation where they find a key, they open it up, and they can get their supplies in there. And that is Ben and Charlie, the Taylor Swift loving man. Both of them fail, but in very different ways. Siga failing wasn't very fun. However, Yanu failing was wonderful to watch, not because I wanted them to suffer or because it's great to fail, but because of the theatrics of Jelinsky saying, how he could definitely do it. And in the beginning, he was super hyped for it. And eventually he was like, yeah, this is never going to happen. But he did have a nugget of a great bit of wisdom when he said, even if we fail, I will have gained an ally. And I thought that was really brilliant. But funny enough, there's another quote in there that probably would be overlooked, and it was from Q, that basically said, this is either going to bond us or tear us apart. And what we learned later on in the episode is it probably tore them apart. Jelinsky pushes to just quit the challenge, so they just quit the challenge. Jelinsky gets his moment where he takes the hourglass, throws it, and breaks it. Tiffany and Kenzie hit it off right away, which, by the way, they are beasts, both of them, in different ways. I could talk forever about Kenzie, but I will say there's several scenes where Kenzie is making relationships with Banu, making relationships with Tiffany in particular, is talking to Jess, literally everybody on the tribe, including Jelinsky, and they create really strong bonds. And I know someone just like Kenzie in my life. It's like a tractor beam when you talk to people like this, because they just have everything going for them. They're so charming, they're enchanting. And when they talk to you, they just reel you in.
I want to find out how to bottle that up and use it in my real life, because it's pretty powerful stuff.
I can see them getting sucked in, and it's very reminiscent of Parvati. Like, if I played against Kenzie, and God forbid I get to in a fans versus favorite situation in the future, I will say it right now, Kenzie, you're out of here, girl. I can't do it. I don't know how you stop Kenzie. I really don't. Tiffany, she ends up doing a pretty cool thing where she finds a aware advantage, and she ends up eventually actually decoding a message that was involved in order to find the location of the hidden immunity idol, and then she gets it. So Tiffany and Kenzie know about the idol. But the other two people that were bonded in their alliance, creating a core 4 in Yanu, is Q and Jelinsky, the two people that were doing the sweat challenge. The problem is, Q didn't really like Jelinsky all that much, but just to hop over to Siga for a second, their kind of interesting dynamic is that the girls very quickly jive together. They all formed a bond super, super quickly. So let's all team up together. And they even looked at Charlie. I think because probably talked about Taylor Swift too many times, the girls were like, hey, he likes girl stuff, so let's bring him in. Mind you, I know Taylor Swift is not really a girl thing. That was probably just the very simple thinking on day one of Survivor. They're like, yeah, well, let's bring Charlie in. We definitely a better shot at getting him than maybe say Tim. So we'll see how it works out for the Siga tribe. Then the Nami tribe. They're very interesting because it looks like they're in a very good wavelength all around. Tevin is doing an awesome job. I love Tevin. He was the opening narrator for the episode, and it looks like he's probably going to narrate a lot of stuff throughout the rest of the season. I don't see him going anywhere anytime soon. It seems like he's in for the long haul based on episode 1's edit. Hunter, as I said before, is a tank. It looks like Hunter and Tevin actually get along really well. And Hunter was not feeling like he fit in, especially when they were singing some songs at the Nami Tribe. Hunter was like, yeah, I used to be at camps, but I hated the song portion. It was just not my thing. I like doing camp stuff, but I don't like doing the woo stuff. Hunter, I feel for you, my friend. I worked in residence life at university for a long time, going to conferences. All they would sing are songs like Big Booty or Ride the Pony and stuff like that. So I feel it. But what Hunter did that was an excellent thing was he ended up talking to Tevin and say, can you teach me that song and how to sing? That is what we call adaptability, folks. Hunter was not comfortable with it, but he said, all right, adapt or die. And he was like, I'm going to adapt. And I respect the hell out of that. Hunter, I'm a big fan of yours, already to start off the game. Liz talks about her businesses and how she helps people online. And apparently that's not something Tevin's super excited about. I think Tevin's one of those people that's like, yeah, if you already have money, you don't deserve to win, which I don't agree with, but it is something that can be weaponized regardless, even if Tevin doesn't agree with his own thought there. I think it's super interesting how that's going to shake out, but it looks like the biggest target on Nami right now may be Venus. And it's because Randon in particular was like, listen, she's hot. We can't trust her. That's what it looked like, at least. I mean, she definitely falls into the mold of like Justine Brennan from Survivor 43. And unfortunately, Justine got knocked out pretty quickly. I think Venus has a lot going on for her. And her looks in this instance does seem like it's going to go against her a little bit. They even invoke the name of Parvati when talking about her. And that's super high praise. You don't want a Parvati target on your back when you're Venus from Survivor 46. You haven't earned it, and that is a terrible target to have right away. So those are the very quick breakdown of how the tribes are flowing at that point, but that's when we get to the journey. It's the new era, there's always got to be a journey. We have Maria from the Siga tribe, we have Tevin from Nami, and of course, we have the legend himself, Jelinsky from the Yanu tribe. They go to the journey, and instead of going their separate ways and playing their own separate games, instead they have to play a game of lies and deceit. And this is a game where there are 3 cards that are a factor. Each person gets 1 card, and no one knows which card they have. They have a torch, they have a vote, and they have a skull. Each of those cards plays a different role. If you draw the torch, then that person announces it right away, and they're essentially the decision maker in the game. The person with the vote, they have the vote. That means that they're going to get an extra vote, and that's great. The person with the skull, they're screwed. That means if they can't convince the person with the torch that they have the vote, when in actuality they have the skull, then they lose their vote, and the other 2 get extra votes. And this was comical because Jelinsky got the skull, and he's clearly the worst liar of the 3. Now, the other 2 didn't have to lie at all. So it's kind of a rigged game in a way, but if you're really good at convincing people, like if Tevin had the skull, I think it would have gone really, really well, actually. But Jelinsky happened to be probably the worst person to pick that card, and he tried really hard, and Maria did the classic mom thing where she said, I don't like being lied to, so I'm going to give you a second chance to tell me the truth. And Jelinsky folded like a tent. And he tried to turn it into a positive. Like, I don't want to lie to you, so like maybe later on, like there won't be 2 tribes angry at me. Just to be clear, he just gave away his vote and quit. Like, he quit that. That's it done. And they made out like bandits. It was the easiest journey they've probably ever done to get so much power. And it's kind of insane because Maria getting an extra vote and Tevin getting an extra vote is pretty huge. Again, we need a tribe is only 6 people. It was the funniest thing when he comes back to the Yanu tribe and he tells them the game, he tells them the truth. I wondered if he probably should have lied, but he told them the truth. And everyone's reaction was just bad. I mean, you know you screwed up pretty bad when these are the reactions that you're getting from your tribe mates coming back from a journey. The biggest thing about Jelinsky that I learned in this episode is he seems like an awesome guy, but he also at the same time seems so positive in many ways that he completely blocks out how bad some of these decisions were. Like in his mind, it's like, nope, it's okay. Or it didn't happen. And I'm just going to ignore that and keep moving forward as if the train wreck didn't occur. The Yanu tribe ended up losing after trying to hurl a giant gecko across a stage, and they didn't get it done as fast as the other 2, unfortunately. And Jelinsky, it was partially in fault for failing both puzzles in the opening challenge and the immunity challenge. Going into Tribal Council, Jelinsky felt pretty confident that his core 4 would stick together. But the problem is, it looks like, in particular, Kenzie and Tiffany did not believe in Jelinsky anymore, and he was unanimously voted out of the game. I loved it because even at Tribal Council, Jelinsky was saying stuff where he was just like blocking out that it was as bad as it was. I think he said it like twice, like, I'm going to give 100% every second of this game. And then at one point he said, I will never quit in a challenge. Then he said, except for the sweat challenge. And then Kenzie says, and also the journey. He goes, and the journey. As far as first boots go in the game of Survivor in history, he's definitely top tier in being memorable, which in many ways, whether he knew it or not, from what I could get, is what he kind of wanted. I want to do everything. You know, as they say, sometimes you could do too much, and he did, but unfortunately he made too many mistakes. No matter what, you're still ahead of Hannah Rose, so think of it that way, because Hannah Rose had her tribe mates begging to vote her out of the game. It's a dub compared to last season, so honestly, we're up, everybody. But overall, I'll say my just real quick hit first impressions, because I've recapped a lot of what happened in the episode. Studs of the episode, by far Tiffany. I think Tiffany and Kenzie are absolute studs in this game. I can tell you right now, I think the winner of Survivor 46 is on the Yanu tribe. Based on this episode, which to be fair was very Yanu heavy because Jelinsky was involved, and also they lost the immunity challenge. Usually, you know, whatever team loses, they get more camera time. I think the winner is clearly on the Yanu tribe. It's Kenzie or Tiffany. And Tiffany was my winner pick, so I'm feeling good about it. But we'll see how it shakes out. I love Banu. Banu is such great energy. Honestly, I don't know if you can handle it long term to compete with people who I think are stronger minded, like a Tiffany, for example. But we'll see how it shakes out. I love Banu. On the Siga tribe, I think Maria, obviously, total stud. I could see major long-term potential for Gem. Tim seems to be more on the trail strategically than I'd given him credit in preseason, but it was preseason, so you never know. The Nami tribe, super interested to see where that goes. Obviously, Tevin is lined up to be in the game for a long time based on how I interpret the edit, at least. He's very wonderful. He's clearly an entertainer. He speaks very confidently. I love everything about Tevin. Hunter, love Hunter. Curious to see how he shakes out. Venus has got a lot of pep in her step. Super excited to see where that goes. But you know, it's only episode 1, so there's a lot that can definitely happen. Super excited to see how it plays out in the end. But Nami looks like they're going to be a hard tribe to beat. Siga looks like they're kind of lined up to be a pretty bad tribe. And Yanu, I hate to say it, with Jelinsky gone, they're probably going to be better. So we'll see how it shapes up. Overall, it's shaping up to be a good season. It's starting off really strong, and I am super excited to see how the rest of it is going to go. If you want to see more videos in the future, just hit the subscribe button. Let me know down below in the comment section. I would love to hear from you all about it. I have a million different topics, honestly, I could talk about. Super interesting. We'll have Castaway recaps moving forward in the season, but for this week I kept it strictly me because I have a big mouth and I have a lot to say. Keep it really fun, and hopefully we'll be talking a little bit more next episode, and we'll see some pretty awesome stuff. All right, so take care everyone. Make sure to have a super fun time. All right.